Hey guys, welcome on to the shop today. We are working on the transmission that I've had for quite some time now, and just been a slow rebuilding process. And now with getting the Model A frames, I want to go ahead and get this finished up. Little man is already asleep. It's quite late tonight, so I'm just kind of piddling with it and cleaning it up and just slowly putting it together. And he'll try to help me tomorrow, probably getting some of it together. I'm sure I'm not going to get it all put together tonight, but there's not much to it to actually get it reassembled, so it may go quicker than expected, and we may get it done tonight. I don't know, who knows. So what I got going on here is I ordered the kit for this, and everywhere I looked, it always had the synchronization rings and everything like that, and these were all in good condition still. I didn't see any metal shavings in the bottom, and everything looked excellent. As you can see, the gears are still good. Everything looks like it meshes up as it should. So I searched and searched and searched for just a gasket kit, and this is what I ended up finding. It was all these pieces, the snap rings, different seals, the bearings for the input-output shaft, and then obviously it had some of the gaskets. So like this one will fit on top like this, and all of this is like universal stuff. So I have overhang right here that I think I'll be able to cut off afterwards, but we're leaving that. This one's gonna get used, and I think that one is also gonna get used. So what I've done so far tonight is I pulled the old rear main seal out and put in a new one, and then I started coming in here, and when I knocked this bottom shaft out, I didn't get there's a roll pin that is through this section right here that you access from this side hole right there. And when I knocked it out, I used this punch, and it doesn't move it all the way out. It always leaves a little bit hanging in there on the back side. So what I did tonight is I found an old rod that this was from a barbecue grill, and it was roughly the same size as that shaft. So I used that to punch the roll pin the rest of the way out, and reinstalled a new one. And so now that is nice and good. And when you guys are reinstalling things like this or engines, every time you add a part, always spin it. It is supposed to be spun, and just test it. So I'm spinning it right now, and it's moving really smooth. It's a little dirty, but with the rebuild, I believe after you run it for a little while, you want to go ahead and replace the fluid anyway. So what I think I need to do next is try to get this shaft back through this back side so we can install the bearing on the back side here. So that's where I'm at, and just kind of going along with it. I'm not in any kind of rush tonight. Alright, so what we have is the input and output shaft right here, and we're just going to disassemble or separate both of those. And this, I believe, if I can remember correctly, because it's been such a long time since I've messed with this, should slide in here. There we go. You gotta lift up on the back side of it and get it to slide in there. There we go. It'd probably be easier if I had something underneath it to kind of help I see what it's getting stuck on. It's getting stuck on that fork. And I can't remember how I got around the fork the first time. It was a struggle for me to figure out how to get this out even to begin with. It's been a long time since I've rebuilt a transmission, and even longer since putting one in. So this was obviously a big learning curve. There we go. It just needed to be pushed way to the side. Alright, so this needs to get worked back. Alright, so that's good. I got the fork in the little slide. So I wonder if I should put the rear bearing in first or wait. So as you can see, we've got the output shaft in here, and we've got one of the set screws in here, and there's a detent ball down through this hole right here that goes into the bottom shaft. A lot of the time tonight is like trying to figure out how everything exactly went together, because it's been so long since I've put this or taken this apart that I have to remember what goes where, and not dropping the pieces and figuring out the best way to put things together. So it took me a couple tries to get that front fork in there and actually like making it so that it worked well. After I got it put in there, I was putting that set screw in, and it wasn't locking with that shaft. And then I realized that I forgot to put the little ball bearing in the shaft. And here's the upper shaft. So as you can see, the ball bearing goes in that hole right there. The detents ride in these different ones. And then the bottom detent goes into this hole. And that's how everything shifts back and forth. But so we got that all going for us right now, and looks like we're making some progress now. I'm slowly starting to remember how this all went together to make it a little bit easier. And I've brought over one of the shifting mechanisms, and I've been moving it back and forth trying to get everything lined up. So I'm going to try to get this other fork in, and so let's see here. We got to get it somewhat lined up so we can get this rotated around. Maybe. That might not even be the problem. It might be operator error. There we go. Alright, so we got that part, and you can't really see it that well, but this right here is where that shifter needs to go. So I'm going to have to put the camera down and move the shifting arm over till this slides over it, and then we can put in the other shaft. Alright, so now I've got the shifting lever on there, and it's tied in. So I will go ahead and get this other shaft put through. Let's see here. We've got to put it up like so. I don't know how well this is going to go one-handed. Alright, so there it slid in. You guys can see it's right there. And Now I'm gonna probably have to tap it to get it to go the rest of the way in. There we go. And we'll have to eye it up, and where's it at? We have these little detents. We'll go ahead and drop it down in there, and we can use Allen head to push it down, and just to make sure that it's down in there. I felt it pop in the hole. Oh, it's not in there. So it takes a little bit of playing around to get it to actually go in good. So I'm gonna get this other fork hooked up, and we'll be right back. We're making a little bit more progress on the transmission here. We had to wait for a little bit until we could get these retaining ring pliers. So I was hoping to get this done in like a weekend, and then I found out I needed these retaining rings, or the retaining ring pliers, because regular snap ring pliers don't work. So as you can see, these have a different style tip on them, and that's what we were needing. But once we got those, we were able to get that snap ring on, also that one, and yeah, so as you can see, we are moving right along with this now, finally. And we are trying to get the input shaft into the case. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. Like I said, this is the first time in a long time. And trying to fit it through that hole and get this all reconnected. Another little quick update on the status of this. We finally got the input shaft in, and it's all sealed up now, or seated up. I had a lot of difficulty getting this to seat in there with the 25 or the 15 little needle bearings right here. There was 15 of them that had to go around the shaft, and I kept on knocking them out when I was inserting it. So it took a little bit. Thin coat of grease definitely helps. And now we got the set screws in, and I'm going to put the input shaft cover, or the housing, and the output shaft housing on. It's all sealed up now, or seated up. So I got the input seal on, and I just put the gasket on, and we're just tightening this up. And then we'll move on to the output shaft housing. And we need to make sure that this will still spin. I don't want to get it all put together and it not be able to turn. So what is the deal? Alright, so I'm going to look at this a little bit. Maybe I got something else bound up in there. Maybe it was free spinning until I put on the input shaft. So we'll take that and loosen it back up and see if that is what's holding it. Alright guys, so I've been kind of struggling with trying to get the input shaft and the output shaft to match up, and I've had it together a couple of times, and I've always had like a 1/4 of an inch like right here sticking out still, and then I can get them put in there, and then the output shaft will be out. And I ended up figuring out what one of my problems was. But before I show you that, one of the things that keeps happening is the little needle bearings inside here. I don't know how well you guys can see those. The little bearings that are in here that are that big right there keep on falling down when I try to maneuver it too much, and they end up dropping into the base of the transmission. So what I went ahead and did, because my little magnet right here broke, went to Harbor Freight and picked up this magnet with a light. So this one is really, really useful. It was I think like $8 with that 20% discount. I can actually go in there and curve it around all of the gears and stuff like that, and actually see what I'm working on kind of down in there, what I'm trying to pull out if something drops. So this is a great tool. One with the light on it right here. This one holds 5 pounds, but I've already used it. I had to pull some of the bearings out after the last time I dropped it. So now I will show you guys what has been happening. So you guys can see in there the transmission. Let me get over to a different spot. All right, so we got the little springs. There is a spring right here, right on the tip of where I'm at. See that? And every time I was putting these little, I think you call them prawls maybe, in there, they were actually hitting on the front side of the spring. And what I believe needs to happen is that they need to go over that spring and sit right against this other synchronization ring. And if they don't, if it doesn't go over the spring, it actually butts up against the spring, pushes the spring against the synchronization ring, and then these don't sit where they're supposed to. So I've done that one other one, and I've got to go ahead and get the other prawl in there. And I go ahead and use needle nose pliers to get it in there, I think. I think that's what I was using. It's kind of tight in there when you're doing it. And I'm sure there's better ways to do this. I know there's got to be. But this is just the way that I've been able to do it so far. Alright, so you guys can see. Let me zoom in real quick. Alright, so you guys see how it is butting up against that spring right here? And if you leave it like that, it doesn't seat right with the other synchronization ring. So you actually have to kind of push it down and get it up over top of that spring, just like that. So you push on the spring, make it go down, then you can push that in. So now all of my little prawls or stops or whatever they're called, I don't know what they're even called, are all against the synchronization ring. So the next thing we'll do is go ahead and get the input shaft, some little bit of grease on there, put the bearings in, and then we'll put that in. So as you can see, I went ahead and got the output input shaft back in, and the bearings are now completely flush, whereas before they were sitting a little bit proud, about 1/4 of an inch. And now I can go ahead and check the operation of this and just make sure that everything is spinning like it's supposed to. So if I grab the output shaft, it should be spinning right now because we're in one of the gears. I believe we're in 3rd gear. And then this is 2nd gear. So now to move the back, or the first, we'll have to put this back in neutral. And then we can move this forward. And it's turning everything. And then if I have both of them in nothing, I can hold the output shaft. You can see that this gear is not spinning anymore. So that is in 1st gear, I believe. And then this is back to neutral. And this will slide all the way back, but that's because the spring right here is not holding down. So if I move it forward and I push on the spring, it actually will catch in the detent right there, and it won't allow it to go all the way back. So having the cover on this holds that spring down, pushing on the detent that's in this on the 1st gear, and won't allow it to go all the way back to the back wall. So now what we can go ahead and do is go ahead and put the cover back on, and also the we got the output shaft housing and the input shaft housing. This has a new seal in it as well, and that will get put on right here after we get a gasket put on right there. So with the gasket right here, we have a hole on the bottom for the fluid, so you got to make sure that the hole lines up with it. So this part right here will actually line up with the gasket and stuff, and we'll slide that on over, and that'll sit flush up against there. You'll put your 4 bolts in loosely, and then we'll also do the back side, and we'll come back up and get this all tightened up. So right now we are putting on the top cover for this. I haven't installed any kind of fluid in here yet. I'm gonna wait to do that. There's lubrication on the gears already still, from where I didn't really have to replace any of them. So they aren't gonna get rusted or anything like that. I'm not worried about any of that kind of issue. And then right here, bolting it back down, you want to do it like a wheel. You want to go in, you don't want to just go all the way around, or else you'll tighten up one side, and you just want to make sure you do it even, just like you do like car wheels. Snug them down first and come back with a torque wrench. And on my sheet that has the disassembly process and stuff like that, on the very last page I have all the torque specs that I needed for the output shaft cover, input shaft cover, and also this cover. Alright guys, that is it. We are completely finished with this thing. Everything's put back together. All of the bolts are torqued to spec. There's still like a couple things that I'll end up having to do for this speedometer reading, the clutch, stuff like that. But the main portion of this is done. So I'm really happy. This was a decent little job for me. I've been working on it for a couple months now, just here and there, not really getting into it too much. When I first tore it apart, started taking it, you know, I never had any expectations for this. Just wanted to get this and get the kids out in the shop, and they've helped me along the way here and there. They'd come outside, work on it for a little bit, then go back and play. So this was a a family job. They got to help paint a couple of coats of paint on this, different parts. But here it is, all completely put back together. All the gears are working like they're supposed to. Rotated it by the input shaft, watch the output shaft, and reverse works. First, second, and third all work correctly. So it's awesome. I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially with the paint job. I think it all looks really good together. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video along with all my other ones. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday. It's a vast mixture of stuff, so you guys can click on the playlist, and that's probably going to be the best way to find something that you will like to watch and stream. Just watch all your videos there. Thanks guys for watching, and we will see you guys on the next project.